Hello and welcome to Stupid Ancient History with Midgley.
And Taylor, and our expert, non-expert, special guest, James, Lord High Commander of the Science Cupboard, first of his name and knower of nothing.
Hello.
As always, we're wearing togas, and today we're going to look at the Rape of Lucretia and the end of the Roman Kings. Previously on Stupid Ancient History, we've been looking at the reign of Lucius Tarquinius Superbus,
The arrogant and proud, as we like to refer to him.
or as the Romans like to call him, and how after a bloody coup...
You mean murdering his father-in-law?
Spreading him up a hill.
Yeah, spreading him across the street.
Yeah, so anyway, after a bloody coup, with all the above, he established a harsh and tyrannical rule in Rome.
Killing senators, exiling opponents, and taking their stuff. General rule by fear.
Standards.
Sounds lovely.
But he still managed to contribute to the development of Rome itself with the building of the Temple of Jupiter and the Cloaca Maxima.
Which he used to oppress the Roman people by making them forced labourers.
Yeah. And finally, we looked at his military record and how he extended Rome's influence outside the city walls.
By starting a war that lasted 200 years. Sorry, but ridiculous.
It's a bit of a mixed bag when you just list it out like that, isn't
And
it?
tricking and then killing people from another tribe. What a stand-up guy. So if you remember where we left off last time, Brutus and two of the king's sons had returned to Rome to find Superbus was preparing for yet another war.
Another one.
Another one.
Wait. So this is a brand new one.
Yep.
This is
War 3.0.
Jesus. So there's the one he started.
Yep.
There's the for the 200-year
Yep.
one that he didn't finish.
That's still going on.
The one his son went and started for him.
And finished.
Yeah. And now there's a third new war.
Yep.
Who's this with?
This is with the Rutuli.
I don't know who they are, do I?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, this is what Livy says. So the Rutuli lived in Ardea and were the richest tribe there then. This was the cause of the war because the Roman king had used his own wealth on his public works and he wanted to cheer the people up with extra wealth because they had started to dislike him because he was arrogant and he had made them work as builders for so long.
Okay.
So basically, yeah, he's starting a war so he can raid and plunder someone else and all their cash and all their stuff so he can pay for his building projects.
Yeah, he
that
spent all his money and he's going to go nick someone else's, basically.
Yeah, and it's also to detract from the fact that they hate him so much as well, isn't
But
it?
aren't
That's the other
these
thing.
aren't these the same people that are going to have to go and fight a war for him?
Yeah, but
So
you know.
if he ends up with some fewer Romans, he's got to please as well.
Yeah.
Bonus for him.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. He's not really doing very well as a king, is he?
No.
How does this war go?
Well, not really well.
You know what? I am shocked to my core. Everything else has
Really?
gone so well for him.
No, it seems after an initial attack, he fails to take the city and is left setting up a long drawn-out siege or blockade.
So they just sat around, basically.
Well, as Livy puts it,
So permanent camps were built, and as happens with a war that is long, with not so much fighting, there were periods of leave, but more for the officers than for the soldiers.
Right. Okay.
so if you're rich, you get sit about a bit.
Time
Yeah.
off.
If you're not rich, stand in that corner.
Yeah. So there's another long war he started.
Yeah.
Hopefully this one doesn't go for 200 years.
Well,
Quite.
Yeah. So
It does.
no.
Okay, good.
So with such a drawn-out war, many of the men from Rome are often away from the city in these military camps that they've established.
Including Superbus's third son, Sextus. Do you remember him?
He's the one he sent to
Murder people.
Yeah. Well, trick idiots into starting the war. Like,
Yeah.
I'm still cross with these people. They definitely deserved it.
I
That's
think
harsh.
you're a bit harsh, James.
Anyway, and since there wasn't much actual fighting going on, many of these rich young men in the army had plenty of spare time on their hands to enjoy themselves. So, and Livy sets the scene.
So by chance, they were drinking in Sextus Tarquinius's quarters. Tarquinius Collatinus, the son of Egerius, was having dinner with them, and they were talking about their wives. Nice.
So they just sat around having a bit of a natter and a drink and talking
Yeah.
about the missus.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, like, war is hell. I hate it. I want to go home to my wife. She
Okay.
makes me really nice. Nice on a stick. whatever else.
Is that what they ate?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the steak part.
They did eat mice though,
They
didn't they?
did.
Okay.
Anyway, the other key person at this gathering, besides Sextus, is a man called Collatinus. He's a wealthy young man from a Roman colony called Calatia, handily enough.
Is he named after the place or the place named after him?
Little bit of column A,
Right,
little bit of
okay.
column B. Anyway, and into this debate about everyone's wives, he chips in with...
Collatinus said there was no need for a debate because in a few hours it would be clear to all of them that his wife, Lucretia, was the best. Since we are young men, he said, let's get on our horses and see for ourselves what our wives are up to, as the best proof is what a husband sees when he goes home unexpectedly. I mean...
This is not going to go well. Well, yeah.
Also, I'm sorry, but advocating going and spying on your wife...
Surely there's the issue of deserting from the army as well.
Oh, yeah, that as well.
I think spying on your wife is a bit more...
Not sure you got crucified for
I'm
that.
sure if you explained during the court martial, it's like, I just wanted to check on the missus. Like, all right,
Fair enough.
play. So they've come up with this random little plan to go and check on their wives
Yeah.
to see who's the
Who's
best.
the best?
Who's the best? Does that mean like fittest?
Just the best.
Just the best.
I mean, a beauty contest didn't end that well, did it, for Troy? So
Oh.
They're not trying to dig that one back up.
No.
So they come up with this genius idea, whilst drunk, that they should all ride back to Rome to each other's houses and see what their wives are up to.
I mean, even if you hadn't said the title of this podcast, I would guess this wasn't going to go well.
I mean, I just think, what do they expect to actually see them doing? I know that this is
Darning
quite
socks.
yeah, like what did they expect to see? One, oh, she's just asleep. The house is in there. She's not done the housework. She's having a party.
Actually,
All
yeah,
the wine.
is this like day or middle of the night they've gone to surprise their wives?
It seems like early evening. I mean, Livy
Right, okay.
doesn't give us much detail, like what time they set off and how long the journey was and how many times they had to stop for a pee, but he does tell us this.
They arrived in the early evening and they saw the royal wives who were surrounded by luxury and having fun with their friends at a dinner party.
All right, fair
That's
enough.
fine,
Doesn't
nothing wrong with that.
Shocking women having dinner parties. Ah. But then,
Then they went to Calatia, where they found Lucretia behaving in no way like the others. Even though it was late, she was sitting in the middle of her home, surrounded by maids doing their night work spinning wool.
Okay, so
darning socks.
basically, yeah,
Yeah.
she's being the much more typical housewife.
Yeah, housewife. So jubilant was Collatinus that he was proved right, that his wife is the best.
So she's won at that point.
She's won, yeah.
Okay.
So he invites everyone in for dinner and drinks.
Yeah.
Okay, so this can only go well.
What do you mean?
It's going to go horribly wrong. Again, I've read the title of the podcast.
So he says, the winning husband eagerly invited the young men into his home. There, the evil desire took Sextus Tarquinius to rape Lucretia, as he was turned on by her beauty and her well-behaved nature. Just imagine, can't you? Ooh, look at that wall!
I think we've opened a dark door now.
So after the evening's entertainment, now they've been to the wives and made sure that they're okay, the men return to their army camps.
No one's got an issue with this. They're just
Wandered off, drunk.
Just wandered off for a bit, come back bladdered,
Yeah.
and then just like, back reporting
Yeah.
for duty.
Yeah, no one seems to be
Yeah.
really that full.
So they're back now.
Yeah.
And anyway,
Livy says, after a few days, Sextus Tarquinius went to Calatia with one companion and without Collatinus knowing.
Right, so he's gone back.
He's
Yeah.
gone back.
I don't like where this is going.
no, I mean, you're not wrong to be worried. When he gets to Collatinus's house, Lucretia welcomes him in. He is the son of the king. And she's no idea what he's planning. And after a late dinner, he stays the night.
In the guest room.
Okay.
Until...
This is all normal. This is Roman etiquette.
Yeah.
Okay.
When everyone seemed to be asleep, burning with desire, he went to the sleeping Lucretia with his sword drawn, and he pressed his left hand on the woman's chest and said, "Be silent, Lucretia, I am Sextus Tarquinius."
So he introduces himself. That's nice.
That's...
Even though he's already staying
Even though
there
she's
in the
welcomed
spare
him in.
bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice. He's introduced himself with a sword.
Yeah.
But then,
There is a sword in my hand, and you will die if you make a sound. When she woke up, the terrified woman saw there was no hope of help, and she would die. Then Tarquin confessed his love and begged her to give in, mixing in threats and prayers, trying to turn all aspects of her womanly nature. When he saw that she would not give in, not even when threatened by fear of her own life, he added disgrace to the fear. He said that when she was dead, he would place the naked body of a murdered slave in the bed next to her, so that it would look as if she had been killed whilst involved in the lowest sorts of adultery.
so I mean, just in case you hadn't picked up on the fact that Sextus and the Tarquins were a bit bad,
Yeah.
it's not.
I'm not a fan, to
No.
be honest. I wasn't to begin with.
It's just going downhill fast, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you've described some pretty awful people. Like, father-in-law Jam is quite high on the list. This guy's jumping to the top of my dislike list.
Yeah.
This is why you should always have a heavy implement near your bed, so that if there are ever any intruders, you've got something to whack them with.
Yeah, but it seems that the worst thing for Lucretia is that threat of the dead slave in the bed.
Right, okay.
That she's worried that this will destroy her reputation. And being the good, pure and honest Roman woman she is, it seems that is what finally breaks her.
Lovely.
So, following the night's terrible events, Sextus simply returns to his army camp.
Just goes back home.
Just like that.
That's a Monday. That's a normal day. I'm back to work.
He's that much of a bad one.
If you're a sex pest, or worse than a sex pest, then that probably is quite normal.
Yeah, but even still, bit callous. And the devastated Lucretia then, left at home, sends a message to her father who's in Rome and her husband who's away at the war to come back at once.
But not telling them why.
So her father comes with a man called Valerius, who's one of his mates, and her husband, Calatinus, brings with him one Lucius Junius Brutus.
Remember him?
Is he the one who went with Superbus's two sons to Greece?
Yeah, he's the guy who went...
He's going to kiss the earth.
He absolutely is.
Right.
So when they get to the house, they're greeted by the terrible aftermath of the events. They open the door and it's like, oh. Or as Livy says...
They found Lucretia devastated and sitting in her room. She started to cry when her family arrived. When her husband asked, "Are you all right?" she replied, "No. How can a woman who has lost her honour be all right? The traces of another man are in your bed, Calatinus." Oh,
Yeah.
that's not nice.
But far from looking for sympathy, Lucretia's got other ideas.
But it was only my body that suffered such a great violation. My heart is innocent. My death will prove this. But give me your right hand and promise that the criminal will be punished.
And
She's not said who it is, though.
Not yet.
Yeah, okay.
And Julie, in accordance with her wishes...
They promised in turn and consoled her sickened heart by saying it was Sextus's fault, not hers, because he forced her.
Okay. So good. So they're gonna get him.
You're
Yeah.
gonna get him.
And once the oath is sworn...
She had a dagger hidden under her cloak, and she plunged it into her heart. She collapsed, killed by the wound.
Okay. Confused with what her plan is.
Because the thing is, it's like the ways of death, suicide, we've talked about this before. Suicide is seen as being quite honourable.
Yeah.
So if she feels that her reputation has been completely, done in because she's been raped, then she's probably thinking, well, the best thing that I can do is have an honourable death, so I'll commit suicide. And then
Right.
basically what he's trying to get at is she's so pure that she just kind of internalises all of the shame and thinks, well, if I remove me, I'm removing all of the shame from the situation. So
Right,
my
okay.
husband can then just go on and live a normal life and it's not going to affect him.
But they've all sworn an oath
But
to go
if
get
they've sworn an
Sextus.
oath to go and get Sextus, if she also kills herself, that gives a certain weight
Yeah, it's
to that
quite
oath.
dramatic, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
So you've mentioned like the end of the Kings is coming.
Yeah.
Is this it?
Well,
'Cause
it's...
they've all sworn an oath against his nasty son.
It's
I'm
heading
guessing
that way.
Superbus gets dragged into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely taken a dark turn.
It really has. Smearing people up Palatine Hill, that was a bit of a laugh.
I was going to say, there is a bit of a comedic element, isn't
There
there, in that,
is.
really, whereas
This is just dark and
Yeah.
awful.
But I mean, this is quite intentional in the way on Livy's part. I mean, he wants to really emphasise the terrible, dark evilness of Sextus to put forward the idea that the kings really need to get shuffled on. So then Livy chips in with...
Brutus was holding the knife covered in blood which he had pulled out of Lucretia's wound. He said, "By this blood, which was so pure before it was violated, I swear, and make you gods my witnesses, that I will force out Lucius Tarquinius Superbus and his wicked wife and all his children with fire, sword, and any force I may have, and I will not allow anyone else to rule Rome."
Right, okay.
So, I mean, strong words. But don't forget, Brutus, like we said, he's the guy who kissed the ground after visiting the oracle, who should have power.
Yeah.
So there's a degree of destiny
Okay.
going on in this.
Yeah, so all the men kind of present reaffirm their oath, and then Livy moves on and says, "They lifted Lucretia's body and carried it to the forum, and men gathered, quite rightly surprised and shocked by this strange event. Each man had his own complaints about the crimes and violence of the royal family. While they were all moved by the father's deep distress, Brutus told them, stop their tears and useless complaints, and urged them to act like men and Romans and take up weapons against their bold enemy."
Starting a bit of a coup here, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's
Get
all
your sword.
it's all kicking off,
Yeah.
and as this gruesome procession bringing the
Carrying
body
the body.
leaves Calatia, many of the people join this quite heavily armed crowd now.
Where is Calatia?
It's
in
not
Rome?
far from Rome.
Right, okay.
So there's this really heavily armed group of this mob making
Yeah.
their way to Rome.
Are they still carrying Lucretia about?
Yeah, absolutely. Taking her with them.
Right, okay.
Giving her a day
It was
out.
like their mascot, but that sounds wrong. But
No, it is. It's kind of like, look what they're bringing the body of proof.
yeah.
Literally.
I meant to ask, you said, they swore this oath against Superbus, his sons, and his wife.
Yeah.
She's been quite quiet, considering how, instrumental she was in him becoming king.
Probably in a room screaming at the walls.
Right, okay.
After smearing her dad everywhere.
Is she not mentioned much?
Not much, no. She's
Right.
done her evil bit. Now she's just been...
After being quite a key player, she just disappeared.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, anyway, this armed mob, or pseudo-army, or I don't know, revolutionary committee, whatever you want to call them, they all now march from Calatia to Rome, where, not unsurprisingly, people are quite keen to see what's going on outside.
Not
So
surprised.
Livy says the outrage about Sextus's crime was just as great in Rome as it was in Calatia. So they came from all areas of the city to meet in the forum.
Okay, so it's properly kicking off.
It's properly kicking
Yeah.
off. Yeah, there's no one there to stop them. It's all thrown down.
Right, okay. Still looking great for Superbus here, is it?
Nope.
This is it.
Or
I'm
his creepy
guessing.
son.
Yeah,
How do they react to this armed mob?
Well,
they're certainly not an armed mob to be trifled with, are they?
Right,
They're
okay.
So-
angry.
yeah, so obviously, such events, they don't take place without causing a stir. Word gets around. And yeah, Livy now shifts the focus of his story to what Superbus is up to.
So he says, when the news of these proceedings reached the camp, the king, alarmed at the turn affairs were taking, hurried to Rome to put down the outbreak.
So where was he?
He was off with this-
Was he not at War 3 or something?
Yeah, he's off in War 3, not doing much.
Right, okay.
So the king and his royal guard and what supporters he still has, who don't know what's been going on, they all rush back to Rome to sort the commotion out. But when he gets there,
Tarquin found the gates shut and a decree of banishment passed against him. The liberator of the city received a joyous welcome in the camp, and the king's sons were expelled from it.
Is that it?
well, I mean, Livy says the liberator of the city, Brutus, quickly wins over the support of the army and all of Rome. So it literally, yeah, they've locked him out.
They've
It's like, so long, Superbus.
just changed the
On
key
your
while
bike.
he's out.
Yeah, they've evicted him.
You've not got the new keys, you can't come in.
Yeah.
It's a bit anticlimactic.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's still Sextus.
Where's he?
Back to Livy.
So it says 2 of them followed their father into exile amongst the Etruscans in, is it Career?
Yeah.
Are those the
Why
two that went to Greece?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sextus Tarquin proceeded to Gabi, which he looked upon as his kingdom, but was killed in revenge for the old feuds he had kindled by his raping and murders.
Okay, good.
Just
gets his
desserts,
comeuppance.
I'd say.
So yeah, it's all caught up with him.
You know those people who he murdered and
I mean, they deserved it.
They did deserve it, definitely.
Were
but they
idiots.
get the revenge.
They do. Okay.
So that's the end of the Tarquin Kings then, and
Woo-woo.
the
Good.
end of the end of kings generally in Rome. And the big issue that we need to address here is: did the Romans get rid of their kings simply because of the actions of Sextus and Superbus? Was it just down to them? So on one hand, you've obviously got to say yes. This series of events is what kicks the Roman people off. This is the trigger. It seems the Rape of Lucretia is a step too far. And this is ultimately the thing that gets rid of the Roman kings. But
There's other issues though, isn't there? I mean, having a conflict that's been going on for so long, and it's kind of not
Yeah.
effectively been stamped out, they'd probably be seen as quite weak rulers. And also the fact they're just basically using the people as either builders or troops. They
Or
don't really
mugs.
seem to care, about the people very much.
yeah,
They
there's
just-
that line in Livy, isn't it? It says each man had his own complaint.
Yeah, they're just like using people, aren't they? They don't care about the people, they're just using them. Even when they go and take over other areas,
Yeah,
it's only because they've run out of money.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's never for the advantage of the people, it's just to benefit them.
I've
Yeah.
run out of money. Start another war.
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
But I mean, we've seen this kind of gradual decline in the authority of the kings anyway. From basically as soon as, excuse me, Tarquinius Priscus sneaks his way onto the throne,
Yeah.
there's a decline in the moral authority.
Yeah.
And then when we get to Servius, he starts suggesting that rule by a single person's not a good idea.
Well, I was going to ask, like, are you saying like this is like the straw that broke the camel's back?
This camel's pretty worn down by now.
It's a knackered camel,
Yeah,
but
Because of the limbo.
did Servius kind of just undermined it all from the start because he was like gearing them towards getting rid of the monarchy, wasn't he?
yeah, and he was so well regarded. He'd laid that seed of suggesting,
Yeah.
actually, this is a bigger job than one man can handle, and maybe rule by an individual's
Yeah.
not a great idea. And then Superbus comes and proves him absolutely right. So yeah, there's been a gradual decline in the authority and the success and the power of the kings. But then when you plop Superbus, and then don't forget, Sextus is potentially the next
Well, I was
king.
going to say because Sextus was his third son,
Yeah, but seems the more
but
dominant.
seems like he's the one who would take
Yeah,
over.
you're sat in Rome thinking, is that what you want as a king?
Yeah.
No. No. So this is, the end of the kings. So there you have it. There's a quick overview of the end of the kings. Thank you for listening. We hope this has been useful. Leave us a comment below, and until next time, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.